No matter where you come from, no matter where you're going, here's a place where you can take comfort in the knowing that whether if you've come to stay a while or just passing through, this door is open to you. Come and let's be silent. Come and share a hug. Come, let's pray together. Come, love and be loved. From the blissed out to the turned out, from the pampered to the abused, this door is open to you. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. The God in us recognizes the God in you. The God in you. Whether you're black or white, gay or straight, Christian, Buddhist or Jew, this door is open to you.
Good morning. Welcome. This door is open to you. Happy Mother's Day to each and every one of you here today. And happy Mother's Day to those of you that are here in honor of your mother. And then we're going to turn and wave at the camera and say Happy Mother's Day to all of you who are somewhere else today. Welcome, each and every one of you. My name is Darlene Strickland, and we always begin our time in prayer here at Unity, so I invite you to join in prayer. As we close our eyes, we turn our awareness within, and we greet this day and this time together. We do so with a thank you. We give thanks for this gift of life. Today in particular, we remember and give thanks for Mother. Remembering that every mother passes along what she has to give. And so however that may have been your experience, we know that the heart of Mother is the heart of love. We also know that there are many that serve as mother who may be male, female. They may never have a biological child, and yet may be mother to many in many ways. And so for this day of celebrating and remembering the love that flows through that which literally gives us life, we're truly grateful. Thank you, God. And so it is. Amen. It's so good to have each and every one of you here today. I'm going to ask Reverend Gaby Michel to come up and join us. Not only is she the director of our Youth and Family Ministry program, but she's an amazing singer as well. And so we're going to ask you to stand and join in this opening song that you're going to recognize the lyrics, I believe, because it says, put a little love in your heart.
Your fellow man, lend him a helping hand, put a little love in your heart. You see it's getting late, please don't hesitate, put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you and me. You just wait.
Put a little love in your heart. We invite you to extend that love with a warm handshake or welcome. Welcome those around you this morning, and then remain standing if you will. Put a little love in your heart and welcome to the love and the light that is unity. When you put a little love in your heart, you can sing this song that says, my religion is kindness, my prayer is peacefulness, my faith is oneness, my light is all. My religion is kindness, my prayer is peacefulness, my faith is oneness, and my light is all. My religion is kindness, my prayer is peacefulness, my faith is oneness, my light is all. My religion is kindness, my prayer is peacefulness, my faith is oneness, and my light is all. My faith is oneness, my light is all. Yes, it is, and you sound beautiful. Thank you so much. You may be seated unless you are a mother. Would you please stand if you are a mother today? Yeah, we want to acknowledge all of our mothers. Mothers, please remain standing. To me, it's always important on Mother's Day because Mother's Day is a bittersweet day. We all know that. Some people have their mother here on earth, and that's a beautiful thing. Some people don't. Some people had a beautiful relationship with their mother, and some people did not. As mothers pass along what they have to pass along. And yet all of us also know that mother, that in its heart and the ultimate place that it holds is that which gives us life, the life-giving love that brings us here. So to our mothers that are here, to the mothers that are around this globe, we want to welcome and bless each and every one of you with this blessing that says, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity in you. Thank you so much for being here, for being mother. Yeah. Thank you so much. We have a wonderful youth program, and they'll be heading out in just a few minutes. Actually, they're going to head out now, but we're going to keep their youth director. We're also going to keep Jennifer Hastings, who's going to be working with them a little bit, just a few moments. But we like to acknowledge our youth. We have a program for nursery through teens. Some of them are already in the back. But if you're in the chapel and you'd like to be part of that program, just head over, and we want to extend this blessing to our young people, to our teens. And again, that blessing says, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity in you. Have a wonderful Sunday school experience this morning. Reverend Gaby is going to share a song with us in just a moment, but first a couple of reminders. If you have not yet turned your cell phone off, we would greatly appreciate that, or put it on airplane mode. It helps keep the airwaves clear here. I also want to remind you that the first Friday night in June, June 2nd, we're going to be having a banquet to honor our volunteers. Now, some of you don't remember that you volunteered for one particular thing or one particular time. Some of you also might not know there's plenty of time between now and June 2nd to volunteer, so get on the bandwagon. Because we're going to have it set up. Deb Battieri is going to be helping us cater a beautiful dinner that night. The Sarah Cord duo are going to be here with some music and entertainment. So it's going to be a wonderful evening. All you need to do is get your ticket. These are complimentary, but it's set up in the foyer. It's also available online. Some of you distance viewers came in last October and were volunteers at our homecoming retreat. So we're going to invite you to come back as well. So just know that that's available with you. The second thing I want to highlight is I believe it's the second Sunday in June. Anyway, it's on the website, Reverend Christy, you can remind me, but Daniel Namod, if you remember Daniel Namod, we sing a lot of his music. He's going to be June 4th, so it's the first Sunday in June. June 4th, Daniel Namod is going to be here with us speaking and singing and having a concert right after the service, so you can bring your lunch. You don't want to miss that. He's absolutely fantastic. There's one other announcement that we're going to highlight in just a moment with Karen Eve, but first, I'd like to introduce you to Jennifer Hastings. If you don't know Jennifer, she's one of our board members, but she does so many things around here. Last Thursday, once a year, we have what we call a training retreat where the board and staff and the volunteer staff come together for a training. And she shared this reading with us, and I asked her to share it with you today in honor of Mother's Day. Would you welcome Jennifer Hastings?
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, I'm a mother of 2 girls, and because I had my phone on, because I needed it, one just was calling me, so sorry. All right. But I also am a proud mother of a 4-legged, and she got in trouble the other day, and so when she was in timeout, she wrote this. A Mother's Day poem from the dog. You feed me when I'm hungry. You keep water in my dish. You let me sleep on anything or in any place I wish. You sometimes let me lick your hands or even lick your face, despite the fact I've licked myself in every private place. You taught me how to come when called. You taught me how to sit. You always let me go outside so I can take a poo. You'll always have my loyalty up to the bitter end, because after all, it's plain to see you are my best friend. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
And I would say that my little grandsons have the same type of poem that they say to us as well. And they're running around. I'm happy to have one of my 2 daughters here today and our beautiful grandchildren. Next Saturday on May 20th, we're having a free spiritual gifts workshop from 10 until 3. And you are welcome to come and bring your bag lunch. So you might ask, why do I need to go to this? Well, do you know if you're an upstander, an obliger, a rebel, or a questioner? Do you know if what drives you is being inspiring, conscientious, steady, or driven? Are you an extrovert or an introvert? Do you know which gifts you have? Are they wisdom, prophecy, discernment, exhortation, or many others? Or which animal would be assigned to you as your personality? A lion, a beaver, an otter, or a Labrador? It's never too late to reconnect with your true self, and our true self changes over time. If you're interested in being happier and more fulfilled, then come along next Saturday, but you must register, for there's homework that needs to be done in advance. Bring a bagged lunch for our spiritual gifts workshop. It will help you clarify your passions, personality, your best environments. It'll allow you to travel on your personal and spiritual growth journey and allow you to also identify the best ways to do sacred service or just find happier work in the world. And I'm going to end today's reflection on next week's program with this inspirational reading. Unique expression is not entirely or merely ego or personality. It is the essence that lies beneath your personality and beyond your personality. It is the personal face of your true self. It is the unique God spark living in you. Your unique expression is the infinite love intelligence living in you, as you, and through you. It is the putting on of true self. As Barbara Brown Taylor said in her book, An Altar to the World, whoever you are, wherever you are in the world that is waiting to see your holiness. Welcome to your priesthood, practiced on the altar of your own life. The good news is that you already have everything to begin, so let us begin.
Thank you.
In this very room, there's quite enough love for one like me. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for one like me. And there's quite enough hope and quite enough power to chase away any gloom. For spirit, yes, spirit, is in this very room. And in this very room, there's quite enough love for all of us. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for all of us. And there's quite enough hope and quite enough power to chase away any gloom. For spirit, yes, spirit, is in this very room. And in this very room, there's quite enough love for all the world. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for all the world. And there's quite enough hope and quite enough power to chase away any gloom. For spirit, yes, spirit, is in this very room. Would you rise and sing it with me?
In this very room,
In this very room,
there's quite enough love
there's quite enough love
for all the world.
For all the world.
In this very room,
And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for all the world. And there's quite enough hope and quite enough power to chase away any gloom. For spirit, yes, spirit, is in this very room.
was beautiful. That's beautiful. Oh, Reverend Gaby, that was absolutely beautiful in this very room. You know, some of you may be here for the first time in this very room, and so we also want to extend a warm welcome if this is your time. Is there anyone in this very room for the first time? Just want to raise your hand, and Unity folks lovingly point so our ushers can find those that are here for the first time, and they'll extend a connections card to them. Whether this is your first time, perhaps it's your first time finding us online, or this may be, you know, it's your spiritual home and community. In this very room, there's quite enough love for each and every one of you. So we want to welcome each and every one of you here again today. Today we are in week 2 of a month-long May series that is inspired by the book, This Life is Yours, by Reverend Linda Martella Whitsitt. On Thursday nights, there is a Zoom study group class where you can dive in, go to one, or attend the whole series, but it's taking it a little more literally and going deeper. I said it's inspired by, so what I am doing is looking at the titles and the chapter, and then we're going original with that, taking bits and pieces of it. And so today, week 2 is titled Wholeness Mindset, Truth or Story. I'd like you to meet Bunny. Bunny has a story. This bunny definitely has a story. This bunny is well loved. This bunny is a great keeper of secrets. This bunny has traveled a lot, has lived a lot of different places. This bunny has magical powers. This bunny has the magical power of love, and this bunny has the power of healing. Now, everything I'm telling you about this bunny's story is 100% true based on a child's point of view. Some of the story is factually true. And some of the story was created from assumptions, therefore was made up. You too have a story. Congratulations, boy, have I got a story. Just like this bunny is about 50 years old, the person who this bunny belongs to threatened me with my life if I didn't get it back to them. Each of us, each of you have a story. And some of your story is factually true. And some of your story, actually a whole lot of your story, is based on assumption. And therefore we could say made up. We could even go a step beyond that and say we know we made up some of our story. And so the question becomes, are we aware that we have a story? We all do. It's a very normal thing. It's actually a necessary thing to have a story. Barry Lopez said, everything is held together with story, including us. We all have a story, but when was the last time you did some proofreading? When was the last time perhaps you edited some of your story? Have you parts and chapters that you may have told so much, you just keep parroting that story that may have been crafted when things were magical? Or someone once told me, don't plant your roots in fairy dust. And I love fairies, but I knew what they meant. There comes a time when you have to be rooted in a true foundation. And so when was the last time we did some proofreading and some edits? And are we aware that quite often we may be literally living our life from the inside of a story versus realizing we have the story, but the story does not constitute all that we are. We want to dig into that today when we talk about a wholeness mindset and is it truth or story? Now, if you look to Scripture, and I'll pull from some various sources today, but if I look to the Gospel of John, and these words are attributed to Jesus, there's a place where Jesus said, "You're in the world, but not of the world." A modern day edit could be, "You're in your story, but your entire constitution does not come from the story." You're in the world, you're in the story, you're in it, but you're not of it. You're more than that. And so what's your story? As I was working on that this week, I thought about a very memorable time in my life when somebody literally said those words, "So what's your story?" So let me give you a little backstory. This was the early to mid-1990s. I had interviewed for a new job with a new company. A top executive had flown in to Raleigh, North Carolina. I went, I was interviewed, and a couple of weeks later I was called and I was offered a position to start with this brand new company called Brio. They offered me a position and they said, we're getting ready to have the International Toy Fair in New York. It's our big deal every year, so as soon as that's over, we'd like for you to start. I was so excited. And then the next day I got a call, and it was the national sales manager, and said, "Welcome. Well, I know you're going to be joining us, and I've decided, if you're willing, I'm going to overnight a ticket to you." Now let's pause and just say thank you, universe, thank you, Jesus. Do you remember the day they had to overnight you an airline ticket? And now you just download an app. Well, they said, if you're willing, this was a Friday, we're going to overnight an airline ticket to you and have you fly in Sunday so that you can be here Monday. And I'm like, sure, that sounds great. I don't know the first thing about my job or the company. Oh, that's fine. Just come, and this is the best place for you to see the product, to learn about it, meet everybody. I'm game. Sounds great. So I got my ticket. I packed my suitcase to be in New York City at the International Toy Fair in February. I was so excited, I packed my best clothes, get on my plane. Remember, it's New York City in February, so there's some delays. So I get there very late Sunday night. I go to get my luggage, and there's no luggage. That's a bad feeling when that carousel empties and your suitcase is not there. It's already late. I make my way, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm sorry. We got a lot of luggage, just didn't make it. We got you here. We'll get your luggage to you as soon as we can." So I'm staying at the Marriott Marquis on Broadway. Taxi cab gets me there. It's very late, and I have to be at a breakfast meeting, my first meeting with a new company, early the next morning. How well do you think I slept that night? Every time I heard a noise, I thought, is that my luggage? Is that my luggage? God, please let that be my luggage. Luggage didn't arrive. The next morning comes, and so all I have is what I wore on the flight. Yeah. So I show up, and I'm in my room, and I'm sort of just a basket case. I'm starting to work myself up. You know when you go into storytelling mode? I'm really getting there. And I just had to stop a minute and sit down and said, "Darlene, just breathe, breathe." And I felt myself say to myself, and it probably became because of my mother. Because in times like this, my mother would say, "It's gonna be okay." And so I got quiet and I told myself, "You're okay. It's gonna be okay. And I'm grateful to be here." So I cleaned up as much as you can clean up from what you wore in a long delayed airport situation. And I go to breakfast. And we're seated at these tables. There's my nameplate. Everybody else is dressed to the nines, not the new hire. And so when I find my place at the table and I sit down, that's when the lady beside me looked at me and said, "So what's your story?" So what's your story? Thank God I'd taken that moment to connect, because I was able to smile and say, well, it's actually a long story. It's going to be okay. I'm grateful to be here. and the airline lost my luggage. Her next line was, "Oh, honey." "Oh, honey." So we had our breakfast, and she said, "Just come to my room. I got a jacket, a blazer." So she helped, and I got through the first day. Thank God, after my first day, when I got back to the room, there was my luggage. Now, I learned from that story, it gave me great compassion about, number one, new hires. Number two, anybody who's ever lost their luggage or lost their belongings, I have deep empathy. And number three, if you've ever had to go commando and didn't plan it, that's not a great experience. There's things you can always learn and ways you can always grow in appreciation. So what's your story? The other thing I know about story is in journalism, there's an expression that says, "Don't bury the lead." Basically, it means that you should write the most important thing first. When we're talking about our story, it means that we need to remember the most important thing first. Now, we've all got stories. We have unique stories. Our stories change. But at the heart of your story, don't bury the lead. At least know what your lead is, because your story, what is leading your story, the story of your life, is either I am ultimately okay or not. That every person on the face of this earth, at the core of them, is a driving force, an energy. It is the lead, their story's seed, and its roots are in, ultimately, I am okay. Now that can mean everything is falling apart at the moment. Do you know what it feels like for everything to be falling apart at the moment, and yet deep, deep, deep inside you still know, ultimately, I am okay? That's a great gift to know that. But so often the lead gets buried, it gets lost, and we get so focused on what's missing. You see, when she asked, "So what's your story?" If I had not taken a few moments and had my own come to Jesus moment and connected with my own okayness, when she said, "So what's your story?" I would have immediately gone into what was wrong, what was missing, what was lost. I may have gone into defense mode because I felt a little judged initially. I felt a lot less than when I walked in. I felt like I had some explaining to do because I did. But if I buried the lead and started there in defense mode, in explanation mode, in trying to measure up mode, can you see how that there's something in me? I would just perpetuate that versus first getting connected and really grounded in, it's going to be okay. I'm thankful to be here, and right now this is missing. Right now this is lost. Right now this needs some attention. How many of you resonate with that at any area of your life? So what's your story? Lori Gottlieb says, our circumstances shape our stories. But often what goes unnoticed is that our stories actually shape our circumstances. The way we narrate our lives shape what our lives become. So what in your life are you in touch with your story lead? We want to take a few minutes and look at some questions. 3 questions, 3 useful things that you can ask yourself that will help you uncover perhaps where we've gotten stuck in a story or we've lost sight of what we really do know to be true. The first question we ask ourselves, is there anything keeping me diminished? Is there any story I tell? Is there any experience that I've had in that, experiences can be diminishing. Experiences can hurt. Experiences can change everything. But the point is that our soul can still be alive and well. And so when we ask ourselves, is there anything keeping me diminished? Is there anything that is keeping me diminished that would cause the diminishing story to be the lead in my foundational story? Back to a story from Scripture, the Gospel of chapter 9. It says, and Jesus went along and he saw a blind man, a man who was blind from birth. His disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Essentially, the disciples were saying, so what's his story? And the reply was pretty profound. Jesus said, neither this man nor his parents sinned. He was saying, this is not about karma. This is not about something he did to make this happen. Neither his parents or the man sinned. He said, but this occurrence is such that the presence of God may be made manifest in him. Whatever the story is, can you look at it and say, it's so that the divine potential can be revealed here, that there is something seeking to be manifest. Let that be the story lead, not what's broken, what needs to be fixed, and not getting so caught up in the why. Now, it's important to ask why. It's important to do self-reflection. It's important to have good facts and be continually self-evaluating. But if we get stuck in the why loop, we never get into a growth and transformation loop. And so is there anything keeping me diminished? I want to tell you a true story about a woman named Loveland. These are her words. She said, I used to watch people on the streets and in restaurants and think their boisterous conversations and broad smiles were evidence that they lived life much better than mine. I assumed they were happier than me, they were smarter than me, they were worth more than me. All around me was evidence that this was true. I had a meager bank account, I had a junky car, and I wore thrift store clothes. I would sit in my apartment and try to imagine what it would be like to be someone else. I wondered what it would be like to be someone who could afford to go to the movies anytime or go out and eat, someone who bought new clothes and shoes and had a good job. I even imagined this, but it felt hard. It seemed like life was stacked against me. And then I stumbled across Tony Robbins on a YouTube. And it caught my attention because I heard him say, you are not as limited as you believe. He said, can you believe bigger than your limiting beliefs? Can you believe bigger than your limiting beliefs? She said the first step in changing a limiting belief is identifying it. So she began to look at her own thoughts, her own beliefs, her own story. And she said, I realized I had a story of not being enough. You see, her lead was not okay, something missing. And because that was what was leading her story, she said, I told it so long I couldn't see beyond that. I thought it was true. But at my heart, as I began to really, what I would call do some proofreading, some editing, she said it was actually ridiculous. I realized that I had friends and I had family that loved me. I loved me, and I knew I was loved. When I looked at my life objectively, I realized I had accomplished a lot. I had been very good as a student in school. I had a journal where I wrote, and I thought that my writing was good. I always went out of my way to be kind and helpful. And she said, so I began to realize that I needed to find roots for a new story that were rooted in something true about me. Instead of actually taking refuge in the narrative or in the story that something was missing. I want to show you a PowerPoint. Loveland, her full name is Loveland Bettison. And we wish her a happy Mother's Day. And then we go on. Loveland is an author and an artist who helps people conquer their fears and reclaim their dreams. I could not fit them all on the screen. I want you to see how young she is. These are the books, the successful books she has written thus far. This experience prompted her willingness to look at her own story, prompted her to start writing stories, and as it turns out, she's a great writer and is very successful in that field. Thank you for that slide. So is there anything keeping me diminished? And are there areas in my life where I really need to look at what I'm telling myself and what is my lead? What is typically leading my thoughts, leading my feelings, and leading my actions and my reactions? Is it the story of I am ultimately enough, learning and growing, but the spirit of who I am, the soul of who I am is always enough? And it means that even though I may not have the skills, the know-how, I may not have done this properly yet or figured it out yet, the key word here is yet, because I'm a work in progress. So the second one then is, who or what is helping me uphold that limiting story? And who or what is helping me live into our ultimate story? If you look around this room, these people are helping you live into your ultimate story, the story of helping you lead from that story. Kinga Lewandowski said or wrote, "Beliefs and stories tend to be stiff. Once formed, it may be hard to modify them, especially because they like to develop in our formative years. The longer we hold on to our beliefs and our stories, the more they calcify in our bones, ingrain in our nature, and grow like vines around our heart. If we live in an environment that shares or even enforces our beliefs and our story, it gradually becomes harder to step out of our head and challenge what's in it." So who or what in your life is upholding a diminishing story? And who or what helps you live into an ultimate story? I want to tell you about a second person named Phil. Phil later realized that one of the things that helped him uphold a limiting story was perfectionism. Now, sometimes it's things that we don't even realize how they're working in our lives. So let me tell you Phil's story. When he was a kid, he was a bit of a perfectionist, but he was also an incredible artist. He loved to draw. He had a very unique style of drawing called pointillism. As a little kid, he would draw circles, but he would throw the papers away unless all the circles were exactly perfect. Even as a little kid, he drew little teeny perfect circles. As he got older, he began to realize that he could connect those little perfect circles together and create these incredible pieces of art, these incredible drawings. His talent, his artistic abilities were truly exceptional. By the time he was in high school, people were asking to buy some of his work. It was so good. But by the time he was in high school, he started realizing his hand was really, really hurting because for years he had been holding that so tight to get those little circles so perfect, so pointed, it was hurting his hand. He would try to do what he could, shake it off. He got into an art school, continued to pursue his dream. Now he's in art school and he's drawing, and his professors say, "Wow, you've got a real talent for this. It's a very unique skill." But not only did his hand start hurting, now it started shaking. He developed a tremor. And for someone who wanted to draw a perfect anything, have you ever tried to write something even when you're nervous and it looks like a chicken wrote it? Well, for this guy his life was about these perfect circles, it was devastating. His mom insisted he go see a doctor. He went to see a doctor, and they said, "You've got some damage here. It's not going to go away, that it's nerve damage, and there's nothing you can do about it." He was so distraught, so devastated, "I can't do it." His perfectionism came falling down on him like a ton of bricks. He dropped out of school, and he said for 3 years he just drifted. He drifted like he was completely lost in every area of his life. He was sinking down so low that after 3 years, a friend convinced him, "Go back, see another doctor." So he went to another neurologist. He saw another neurologist. They checked his hand, and the neurologist confirmed, "You have permanent nerve damage. You are always going to have a tremor in that hand." But this neurologist said, "What would happen if you embraced the shake?" And he said it's like a light bulb went off in his head, and he said, "What would happen if I embraced the shake?" I want to show you a picture of Phil Hansen. He's got a great TED Talk you can watch. So what Phil began to do, if you look at his art now, the lines aren't perfect. They're little squiggly lines. He also is the guy that will take a pepperoni pizza and put his hands in the grease and karate chop a picture of somebody. He's done some amazing, incredible things. And he said, if I would never learned to embrace the shake, I would have never known myself beyond what it was to be someone who could perform at a level of perfect. But what happens when you can't do it that way anymore? And so what helps us uphold our diminishing story, and what is helping us live into the ultimate story? And perhaps is there something that we need to embrace? That when you embrace it, I've had many people tell me when they share a story with me, they would talk about something they wanted to do, they felt so called to do, and they would say, but I'm so afraid. Or I have so much doubt, and if I have this much fear and this much self-doubt, then maybe it's not God's will, maybe I shouldn't do it. And I typically would usually ask, but what would it be like if you learned to walk with your fears? What would it be like if you learned to walk with your doubts? Rather than waiting for them to go away, what if you embrace them as a normal part of life? We had an interfaith service here just a couple of weeks ago, and sitting beside me was someone representing the Buddhist community. And right as it was about to begin, she leaned over and said, "Are you nervous?" And I said, "A little bit." And she said, "Do you still get nervous?" I said, "Every time before I speak, I have it's not a bad nervous, but there's this sense of anticipation. So yeah, I feel that." And she said, "I'm so thankful because I get so nervous." And she told me after, she said in order to lead Sangha in her Buddhist community, she literally had to sign up for a theater group to force her to walk with her fear. But what such a great teaching, because we can learn by people who are real, people who are saying, yeah, I still have some self-doubt, I still have fears, I'm still learning, I'm still overcoming, and I've embraced that. I've embraced that as part of our story, part of our humanity, and I'm learning to live in a bigger context. That's the point. That's what Phil lived. How can I express and share my gifts as I know myself in a bigger context, a bigger story? So is there anything keeping me in a diminishing story, a limiting story? Who or what holds that in place, and who or what helps me move beyond it? And then number 3, is there anything keeping me from being soft at my edges and open at the top? Richard, would you please join me? Tara Brach, who in my opinion is one of the best meditation teachers out there today, Buddhist, she shares a story. If you know Tara Brach, she has experienced some physical health issues, challenges that she's had to learn how to be with, continually expanding her circle of who she knows herself to be, widening her story so that it doesn't get so narrowed that she can't find joy in it. She writes, "I try not to think how I used to be. I can let go of the younger me, the one who won Yoga Olympics by holding wheel pose for more than 18 minutes. I can let go of the woman who ran 3 miles on most days, who loved to ski and boogie board and bike and play tennis. But what about being able to just wander the hills and the woods around my home? What about walking along the river? Can I continually let go and open? Can I meet my edges and soften? Feeling and flowing into the loving presence that is right here." So what's your story? And are you aware of your lead, or does it sometimes get buried? Is there anything keeping you diminished or in a limiting story, and you may not even be aware of it, but you're responding to life by allowing that to lead? Are you aware of things that help hold that in place, and are you aware of the things that can help free you, help you let the lead be your ultimate truth? And is there anything keeping you from having soft edges? Soft edges simply means, yeah, that may appear to be a limitation, but it doesn't define me. And open at the top, I'm still learning. I'm still experiencing myself in new ways. I'm going to lead you into a meditation that is adapted from Tara Brach, and I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. I'll begin with a song by Karen Drucker that says, so I breathe in and I breathe out and I take in and I give out and I let love and I let go. I release and I know. So with your eyes closed, let yourself imagine the space between your eyes. And now let yourself imagine the space between your ears. Let yourself imagine that region between your forehead and the back of your skull as filled with space. Let yourself sense that your hands are filled with space. Now breathe gently into the space that is your whole body. Let your whole body feel spacious. Let yourself imagine that space within your body. And now that space extends outside of your body and into this room. And that space extends beyond this room, outside of these doors. And that space outside the doors begins to extend further and further, literally wrapping around our globe, flowing throughout the cosmos. It's the same spaciousness. Notice your awareness of this spaciousness. And let yourself rest in this wakeful and open spaciousness. Let the boundaries of your being soften. And now bring your awareness back to your breath. Bring your awareness back into your hands and begin to just wiggle your hands and your fingers. Feel your awareness directing. awareness back into your legs and your feet, and maybe wiggle your toes a little bit. Feel your awareness back in your body. But always know that you are so much more than the physical body. You are so much more than any snapshot in time. That you are part of the awareness. And that awareness knows no limitation to being. And it's there with you wherever you are. So I breathe in and I breathe out, and I take in and I give out, and I let love and I let go. I release and I know. So I invite you to gently open your eyes and bring back a smile. Just smile. Feel what comes up behind that smile. Join me in this song if you know it. I breathe in and I breathe out. And I breathe out. I take in. I take in and I give out. And I give out. I let love. I let love and I let go. And I let go. I release. I release. And I know. And I know. So I breathe in and I breathe out, and I take in and I give out, and I let love, I let go, I release, and I know. So what's your story? Whatever you do, don't bury the lead. Yeah. Happy Mother's Day. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for being here. As we transition to the final part of our service, Dave Della Rosa is going to share some Doobie Brothers with us. You know, there's nothing to just bring this home and bring you back in your body like some good old Doobie Brothers. But as he does that, I'm going to invite our ushers to come forward, and Phoebe Reed from our prayer and care team is bringing the prayer box up. Or no, actually Tom is bringing the prayer box up. Our prayer chaplains are available to pray with you after the service if you want someone to remember your story, the truth of your ultimate story. They're available to pray with you. And our ushers, Michael and Ellen Winter today, are here reminding us that we are the ones that create the resourcefulness, that generate the resources that sustain this ministry. And so we take the opportunity to give thanks for every giver, for every gift, for all the resources that flow through this ministry that enable us to do and to be one who upholds this sacred oneness, enriches people's lives, and inspires compassionate living. So together we affirm this blessing for our offering. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am. I am now in perfect balance and flow with the universal tides of giving and receiving. Thank you, God, and so it is. Thank you. Dave Della Rosa.
and we'll dance. Oh, gonna dance the blues away. Ooh, if I'm feeling good to you and you're feeling good to me, there ain't nothing we can do or say. Feeling good, feeling fine. Oh, let the music play. Oh, oh, listen to the music. Oh, oh, listen to the music. Oh, oh, listen to the music all the time. Like a lazy flowing river, surrounding castles in the sky, and the crowd is growing bigger, listening for the happy sound that I gotta let them fly. Oh, oh, listen to the music. Oh, oh, listen to the music. Oh, oh, listen to the music all the time. Whoa, whoa, listen to the music. Whoa, whoa, listen to the music. Whoa, whoa, listen to the music all the time.
Dave Della Rosa, listen to the music, listen to your story. All right, would you please remain standing? I want to thank you again for being here today. You get a little workout up and down. We're going to bring this service to a close with this song that says, "Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me."
Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be, with God as creator. Brothers and sisters are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every breath I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment, peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me.
Yes, have a wonderful day and a wonderful